right. Okay, so then we might grab another one. Sorry about that. A couple of minutes late there. All right, so how's everybody doing? Halito, everybody. This is CT over the NYC Indian, and today we're going to be reviewing Married at First Sight. Now, I know it's been a couple of weeks. I haven't been on. Got a little bit busy with the summertime and my kid and activities and stuff like that, but I'm back. Here we are. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. If you cannot hear me okay, leave it in the chat. Let's get into it. Let's dive right into it. So let's talk about last night's episode. So it starts off with Megan and Ben. So they go on this mermaid date, and it's totally obviously her idea, right? Now, I don't know how I felt about this because we all know that she is very upset with him, and it's been some time since I've spoken to you guys. The whole doggy gate that happened with Justin and Alexis and stuff. So where I left off from the last video that I did, I think Megan was still upset with Ben, but there wasn't a whole lot of progress. So it started off on this episode as if there was maybe a little bit of progress that was made between those two. And they seem to be getting along. But when I saw them on that date, and I felt like, because, she's still feeling like, okay, well, first, since I haven't talked to you guys in a while, let me just first give you my take on the whole Megan and Ben situation. Now, you guys might want to buckle up, because this is going to be a slightly longer review because I haven't talked to you guys in a while. So the whole situation with Megan and Ben, her lying about being a credit short of graduating for her or getting her BSN. She was already an RN with, I'm assuming, was an ASN, Associates of Science of Nursing, or an ADN, an Associate's degree of Nursing. So she was, the BSN was to further her career. But I think that, maybe she just felt it would maybe look better on the application if she wrote that she had her bachelor's degree. So that's what I am taking of it, and that Ben kind of got the wrong end of the stick, thinking that she wasn't a nurse, because she lied about the credits. So that's when he went back to Justin and was, confiding in him. Now, I do believe that you do need to keep certain things in the marriage, but let's face it, these are a bunch of strangers, and strangers that have been put into a situation together. So of course they're going to lean on one another. You're going to tell me those girls don't run back and tell each other like, oh my God, you know what he tried last night and I wasn't ready, right? You're going to commiserate with someone. So I just thought that, it really wasn't a big deal that he told Justin, but the problem was that he didn't have all his facts right. But all of this would not have happened if, it was a white lie, right? She was embarrassed about it or whatever. It was a white lie. But, I think maybe the way to have handled that would have been, when, let's say when they first got to the honeymoon and they're starting to get to know one another, I'd be like, hey, by the way, on my application, I put, for the show, I put that I was, I had already graduated, but technically I'm a credit shy. I'm about to graduate, but I'm almost there. So just to kind of clarify anything, if you think that I have my bachelor's when I don't. I think that small conversation, I think he still wouldn't have been happy about it, but I think maybe if it happened in that way, like maybe right away. It's not like he found out through someone else. I guess they did have that conversation, but somehow the wires got crossed where he was thinking that she was not a nurse. So, and if you're not from the nursing world, you don't know the difference between a BSN and an AD and an ASN and LPN. These are different levels of degrees and licensure. So, my thing with Ben was, all right, he's very handsome, he seems very, like a nice guy. He seemed to be definitely immature. It didn't seem like he goes too deep. He seemed to be like kind of like a little bit on the emotional side, or affectionate side, I should say, a little bit distant. But I mean, they had a rocky start, so I guess I can't really, I mean, I guess that's what's to be expected, right? So my concern with Ben initially was that his relationship with his mom was going to be way too much for his marriage. She would be too involved, have too much influence over the marriage. And my other issue was that he was going to just, the cheapness, was going to just be too much for her to handle. That's what I was thinking. And those would still be issues. We'd be talking about that right now had it not been for the whole, BS in gate, right? So now that we're caught up on that, they have been, she's been, more distant with him. She says she has a wall up, she can't trust him, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that he has apologized profusely, and because you're strangers, you're still getting to know each other. I feel as though his reaction towards her family, now that's what was disturbing. Okay, so let's talk about that. How he, was like, oh, you don't have what do you mean you don't have a close relationship with your dad? And he was very judgmental, and it was kind of shocking to me. But I think that maybe he was in his dating history, perhaps maybe he was used to date. I mean, did he ask for an Asian partner? Is he used to dating usually Asian partners and, with families that are usually intact? I mean, come on, let's face it, guys. I mean, of course, there's single parents in Asian American communities, but the rates are not as high as it is outside of the Asian American community. So I was thinking, well, is it because he's just so used to that, he just thought that was automatically going to be a given from his new wife. So that's why I always say all the time, especially as a person who comes from a multicultural background myself, and I'm married to someone from another culture, I really think these cultural conversations are very important. Now, yes, her mom is Asian or part Asian. I don't know if her mom is mixed or full Japanese or whatever, but obviously her dad isn't. So then there's like different things that are going on with her as well. So her dynamic may not look like someone who was raised in a family that's Vietnamese, right? So these things we have to take into consideration. I felt like he was not taking that into consideration and was being just very judgmental about her. And, she could have been judgmental towards him. What do you mean? Just because you grew up in a refugee situation or your parents had a refugee pass, that doesn't mean I have to turn off the lights at 4 o'clock or what. She could have been like that too, but she wasn't. So I felt like she was more understanding about his family dynamic than he was about hers. So I'm just getting all that out of the way to say that Ben definitely I definitely do have concerns about Ben. But honey, the way that she has dragged out her punishment towards him, I mean, it's been long and drug out, and it's like you guys just met. Okay, so let's just say, all right, let's just make it even. All right, he was judgmental towards you. He apologized, and you lied. I mean, it was a small lie. I understand that it's a harmless lie, but when you're first trying to get to know a stranger, you're already on edge because you don't know if they're coming in telling the truth or coming in with a pack of lies or whatever to begin with. So let's just call it even and go on about your business. So now she's finally saying like she's kind of letting down the wall a little bit and decides to go on the date because remember she had her a little girls group the previous weekend. They're like, well, why don't you, they're basically like, girl, chill the hell out. Like, like give them a chance. Like you guys don't even know each other yet. So she decided to take their advice. So when they go on this mermaid thing, I was like, unless you're dealing with somebody that's really, really fluid, I think that like making him do this mermaid thing, it kind of felt like a punishment to me. Like, she was trying to kind of humiliate him, with that little, with the little mermaid tail on and stuff like that. But hey, truth be told, he looked better in that tail than she did, right? Ben, listen, we can say what we want about little Ben, honey, but Ben has got a body, oddy. He looks good. Ben looks very good. I don't care. I mean, that haircut, that's a whole nother story. I think he needs to cut his hair a little bit shorter, but I mean, he looks very good. It's a mermaid fin. What can I say? So, I mean, because I don't know if she's really getting to the gym as much. Well, anyway, okay, I'm not even, all right, because she says she likes to go to the gym. So, all right. So he acquiesced. And, you could see on his face like he's smiling, but I think he felt a little bit foolish, doing that. He was a good sport. That's because he's always trying to please. And then we find out a little bit more about him and his how he tries to be a people pleaser, which is something that I think Megan seems to be a little bit kind of annoyed with. But let's get into that a little bit later. So now let's get to Mitch and Kristen. So they're talking about jobs and kids, and she's telling him basically her goals. So she wants to have some babies and she wants to flip some houses. So, okay, she wants to make money and she wants to start a family. Very, perfectly normal. Now, Mitch, listen. All right, I told you guys this is going to be a long one today because I'm catching up. I'm not going to try and go back and do a review on the whole bit. Just we're catching up today. Now, Mitch, let's rewind. When they went to those houses and saw each other the way each other lives, oh my God. Mitch, I mean, the filth in that house. It was, it was surprising to me because, don't they like visit the homes of the people, the experts visit the homes of the people to announce and say, hey, we found you a match. Like, I don't remember the house looking nasty like that, but it's not, they weren't really zeroing in on stuff. But I remember he had like a surfboard hanging up on the wall and back of him and stuff like that. And I was thinking to myself, okay, so, the place looked decent. So what happened between then and then, or maybe they just didn't highlight it, but honey, that stove and the bathtub, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I mean, like, ooh, I don't know how much hygienic, like how thorough the hygienic process is going on, or how thorough. Oof, I can't even find the words. I was really surprised, and he was like, "Yeah, it's kind of gross. I know. I wash my plants in there," and I'm like, well, if you wash your plants in there, then maybe you want to give that a little good scrub a dub, right? But I don't know. It just kind of gave me like I swim and surf at the beach and I come home and just change my clothes. That's what I was getting. I take off my wetsuit, let that dry, and I mean, Kristen was really, she seemed like she was just really hanging in there and really trying not to emote. But, she was like, oh, this is terrible. But she's like, Kristen has proved to us like over, time and time again, as he kept, kind of criticizing her, and she would, be thanking him. I just want to thank you for telling me this. And I just want to thank you. Like, it was just like, a gratitude parade on her side, where he wasn't saying, like, I value your intelligence, or I think you're a really beautiful woman, or something like that. I thought it was definitely a physical thing in the beginning. I was like, oh, he doesn't like her eyes. I think, maybe he just doesn't like big eyes or something like that. But then he seemed to kind of warm up to her. So now that we have gotten past the horrendous apartment tour, and she knows that she's got a lot to work with, but Kristen, to me, while we've seen her stand her ground a bit more recently in the past couple of episodes, I still feel that there is a little bit of a desperation. And I don't think that that's like some horrible thing. I think, sometimes people are desperate to get married. I mean, I guess that's what would bring you on the show. You just really can't find a partner. But I think in Kristen's case, it's because she can't find someone that can value her. Because Kristen, I mean, for any guy, I mean, she would be a catch, right? I mean, she takes care of herself. She's clean. She has a good job. She's smart, and she's extremely accommodating, right? So, there can be desperation for different reasons. She just cannot seem to find like a good guy that she is compatible with. He, on the other hand, Mitch, is in a desperate situation because he has a lot of different, I don't know if I would call it anxieties, but he definitely has, it's beyond quirks. I mean, I thought they might be quirks in the beginning, but it's a little, his personality is definitely on the extreme side. So the way that she has jumped through hoops to just accommodate him, and with the party and the whole theme, she wanted to do like French, and he wanted to do like when the earth ends, the end of the world kind of theme. And um those little, I forget what those cups are called, those little metal cups to use for jello shots. Like me, I can't even, let me tell you something. I had a bad experience with my dentist when I was really young. And my grandmother, she would always send me to like the people that just like came straight out of dental school. I don't know why she would do that. And like I remember back in those days, like they used Novocaine, and I had really bad experiences with like getting fillings and stuff. So to this day, long story short, I don't like metal in my mouth. I don't, when I go to a restaurant, a lot of times I'll ask for a plastic set of utensils, because the metal just kind of bothers me. So I can't imagine sitting there, I'm trying to like get my buzz on in a metal cup. There is just not happening. I was like, oh my God. And then when the guest arrived, and he's like, well, I guess she didn't get the message that there's going to be no plastics in the future, no single-use plastics. And I understand, I mean, he's, the environmental consciousness he has is, his heart is in the right place. And I think we all should be a little bit more environmentally conscious. Quite personally, I mean, I live in Washington. You don't get any more environmentally conscious than that. So I do understand and appreciate his passion, but it does seem to be it goes a little bit far. So the thing is that you have this environmental consciousness with this kind of sort of extreme personality. So then it's not a great combination. So they're talking, and she's telling him about, what she wants to do with the future. And he's just like doing his little accents he likes to do and being goofy and stuff like that. And I think where Mitch has settled right now that he feels that he is, I guess he's attracted to her. I think he is. I think he's come around and he's become a little bit more attracted to her. But I think it's because basically, I mean, they've had the sexuals. So, he is, I mean, he's getting some, and he hasn't had some for a long time, he said. Remember, he was concerned about performance anxiety and things like that. So he is definitely enjoying, the fruits of marriage, let's say. And he also does not seem to have any problem with the fact that she makes more money than he does. But then he starts to say, when she says to him, hey, listen, are you listening to what I'm saying? I mean, I'm talking to you about something very serious here. These are my dreams. Do you even care? And he's like, well, it's just that, environmentally, and he starts going on about the homelessness and things like that. And I mean, I know for people that live in other cities where homelessness is not a huge issue. I don't know how it is in San Diego, but San Diego is extremely expensive. I mean, that is an expensive place to live. But, cities like San Francisco, cities like Seattle, I don't know. I never thought I was going to see homelessness worse than New York City. I really never thought I would live to see that. But Seattle is like, it looks, everywhere you go looks like a refugee camp. Everywhere you go. And it's really beautiful out here. All these flowers are in blossom and stuff like that. But there's always an encampment under every bridge, under every underpass, viaduct, whatever. And it's extreme. So I think he's coming from the perspective of living in a city where I don't know, like I said, I can't speak for San Diego, but I did live in California for quite some time. And, encampments. I mean, I'd never seen tent cities until I lived in California. So I think he's coming from that perspective where he's like, oh my God, this kind of contributes to that. Like you buy more real estate. But if you were that passionate about those sorts of things, then why the hell are you going to let somebody else pick a wife for you? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You can't let somebody else pick your wife if you have like such a narrow set of things that you can and can't accept. And I feel like with him, it's just like he's chomping at the bit. I feel like Mitch is actually trying not to let his crazy get to the level that he knows he can get to, because he's realizing that he has a good thing with Kristen and that she is somebody that he needs. And remember what he said that like that when they were having like some heart-to-heart conversation, he told her, he said, well, sometimes I'm going to just really need you to kind of like put me in my place. That's what he said. He said he needs someone to kind of help reel him in, kind of like Lindy. Like him and Lindy kind of want the same thing. When they're crazy, starting to spiral, they want somebody to kind of, get them into shape. So, Lindy, I think she just wants somebody to kind of sit through her craziness versus him. He wants to be kind of stopped. So I think that because he is so, he's too out there and he's very self-centered. All right. Now, I can appreciate Mitch's honesty. All right. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And in this kind of extreme, unusual process where you're trying to get to know a stranger, then, okay, it is better to lay things out. You just have to say them in a more kind way, which I felt like he could have been a little bit more tactful with, how he did it. But he wasn't horrendous. Mitch is just a hard person to match because he has a lot of extreme things in his nature. So, this process is not for someone like him. You know what I mean? If you want somebody who is the girl has been jumping through hoops. She's spent every day at the goddamn beach with him since they've been together. And she enjoys the beach. She said that before. And Pastor Cal did interview her on the beach before they told her that they found her a match. But that doesn't mean she lives at the beach. He literally lives at the beach. Like that's his whole thing. So there has not been one activity that they've done that doing things that she likes to do. And this is the sorority girl. So I'm sure she likes to wear nice perfume. I'm sure she likes to get her highlights done. She probably likes to get her nails done. And he's going to be on her about everything. Is that nail polish biodegradable? Look, see, the third ingredient here has an ethylene in it. That's not good. So it's so extreme. And I'm not saying that the way he is in terms of environment is wrong. I want to make that clear. I don't think that he's wrong. I think if more people were like him, we would probably, we wouldn't have some of these issues that we're having, with the planet. But you need to go to marriage, what's it called? Married at First Sight, the ecosystem version or something like that. She's just like a regular girl. So he's talking to her about these homes that she wants to flip, like as she is this completely mass producer and she's just contributing to all of the homelessness and things like that. I think it's a difficult conversation to have. And I feel like you notice how he was kind of smiling when he was talking about that. And he was like, well, it's just for me. I just kind of feel like it's not really like a good thing to do. And you're kind of contributing and, you're being inauthentic. And then that's like when she really was like, what do you mean I'm being inauthentic? Like, I'm telling you truthfully, like what I want to do with my future. So, I don't think that in the end this can really work out. I mean, there's only so much backbending and pretzel, you know, she can do. I mean, like, there's only so much she can do. And, he hasn't once said, let's go to the mall. She seems like she would love to go to the mall, just like a regular day walking around versus like, how he would be probably like cringe at all the brand new clothes on those plastic hangers, right? He just seems like he would just have a fit. So I think Mitch is too extreme to be with her. I think he could have his match, but, it's not her. And then the other thing is with Mitch is that I don't think he's a horrible person, but I think he really needs to work on himself a little bit more because, I mean, basic hygiene, come on, you can't like, I mean, just the basics. Like, I mean, if you are that filthy, then you're just not ready to be in a relationship. And maybe you need to take, some courses or something on how to be more tidy or how to take care of yourself. I could just see him going like, oh, I just came out of the ocean. I'm clean. I mean, there's salt in there. I mean, that kills bacteria. Couldn't you just imagine that conversation? So, all right, let me see here if I can lift this up a little bit because I feel like this is not the best angle. Sorry, guys. You know me and all of my logistics. Always got a whole bunch of crap going on. All right. So that's where we are with Krista and Mitch. So let's go now to Stasha and Nate. So Stasha and Nate, they've been getting along, but Stasha has been she's been feeling insecure with Nate because Nate doesn't open up very much. Now, Nate is not what I would consider to be a very a deep person. Now, it's very easy if you're just tuning in the past couple of episodes, it would just look like Stasha is just like out of her mind, right? But don't forget, let us not forget the bachelor scene, the bachelor party scene, and let us not forget that that little girl, that not little girl, but the blonde hair girl at the wedding who he apparently watches sunsets with, and the ATVs, Mr. I'm on the gram, hey. Meanwhile, she's about to fall off a cliff or something like that. Damn near, and he's like too busy trying to make a video for the gram, right? So these things have stayed with me. This is what I remember about Nate. So these things give me concern. Now, Nate, I mean, not also to, let's not forget about, the knockoff handbags and, the bankruptcy and stuff like that, right? That's a lot of red flags. But she is so physically attracted to him. She feels like she found her mate. God only knows they look so much alike, right? I mean, he's Blasian. And I mean, when we first saw her, I was like, is she Blasian too? But she just looks exactly like her mother. I don't know what her dad's background is. She didn't go into that or anything like that. But whatever he is, she looks like she could have the same mix as he does. I mean, they just look alike. It is really kind of uncanny how much they look alike. And I think she kind of sees that, like, they could have babies that kind of look like them because they look so much. It just seems like to her, like, it's like, this is all worked. It's all perfect. I got the home. I got the job. I got the money in the account. All I got to do is just insert this man, plug in a baby, and then we're all good to go. Add water and mix, right? But it's just, she's trying to get him to talk about his trauma with his mother. And he's acting like it doesn't affect him. And, who am I to say, how does he really feel, how he really feels or not. But let's just say that for me personally, I do not believe that your mother abandoned you and you actually were in the same room with her. You shared air, you breathed the same air with this woman and you have no feelings about it. unless you're a psychopath or something like that. I mean, yes, you can suppress feelings, but they're still deep down. They're still there. And I really do not believe that there's no way in hell that that is not affecting him, because you can see it in the way that he talks, like when it comes to kids and stuff like that. To me, he doesn't have the kind of, he's not displaying to me the fear of having children, like he had some conversations in early episodes about with, her friends and stuff, like in her family, about his hesitancy to have children. To me, it wasn't that same kind of conversation of like a guy just being like typically afraid of commitment. To me, it was more like really deep-seated kind of issues, like, how do I know that she's going to love the child and leave? If you've never seen a mom, your own mom, be there, and that doesn't, I wasn't raised by my parents. I mean, I had all kinds of different feelings about having a child because I just didn't, I mean, I saw my grandparents, and that felt like a whole different generation because they were older, right? Oh, they're from that generation. They take care of their kids. They do stuff like that. But mom wasn't around, my dad wasn't around, so that really can affect how, at least how you look at, I'm not saying it can, shut you down for the rest of your life, but it really can affect how you look at becoming a parent. And to him, it seems very scary because $150,000, if they set him up with a girl, not, let's say not Stasha, they hooked him up with somebody who worked at McDonald's, his 150 and her, I don't know, 15,000 she's making a year, that would be more than enough to have a child. Now, okay, we can factor in cost of living and stuff like that in San Diego. Maybe, maybe they would have to have a very small place or something like that, but that's enough money for, him to do it on his own. But it's not about the money with him, because he says he wants to make $250,000. I don't think $250,000 would be enough for him. I feel that those issues are deep-seated and he hasn't addressed them. But at least he is open to the therapy. Now, the therapy did kind of seem like he was kind of going along to get along. However, I feel like even though he was maybe sort of acquiescing in some sense, I think maybe some part of him realizes that, therapy really could help him. And I'm assuming that it's an individual therapy, not a group therapy. I'm not really sure. But so now, okay, that I've discussed that. Now we're going to talk about where they are up to now. She has been trying to pull out of him, how he feels about his parents or about his mom. And is that such an unusual thing? I mean, yes, it's, you're just meeting, but, we're in like day, let's see, that was like day, let me see, like right before day 21, I don't know, a few days before day 21 of the marriage. I think that's enough time. You've been spending 24 hours, a day together, and you both come from this kind of similar background where you had one parent that wasn't there. But I don't know. I mean, to me, it's more, maybe it's not more, but it seems more devastating when your mom isn't there. A lot of people, to kind of get used to dad's not being there, right? But when your mom is not there, that's really tragic. So, I felt like she was trying to connect with him. Now, here's the thing. If you ask him once and he's like, I don't know, and then you ask him again, he's still, then I feel like you got to kind of wait, right? Maybe he's just not ready to be there. I understand she wants him to open up and to be a little bit more deep, but Nate is not a deep person. He's very surface level. And I'm not saying he's a horrible person and there's, he's irredeemable. That was last season, honey. That was Elijah one. He could do no right in my eyes. But they had this, like kind of group thing, and where they had this therapist and she's talking to everybody about their issues and stuff like that. And he is saying basically, she's saying, listen, at the, more or less, it's that he's not at the love level, because when she asked him where he was at, he said he's around at like 40%. He's not at the love point yet. And it's, that's perfectly understandable, right? And kind of healthy too, right? Everybody goes, oh, I love you. But I feel that his hesitancy is a little bit I mean, that's warranted. I mean, you're still getting to know each other, but you need to be moving in that direction. And she's upset because she feels like, you know what, love is a choice. You can choose to love. Now, it's hard to say because, some people are very like it's just a feeling, it's just a feeling. But and then other people are a little bit more logical about what we call love. So, I mean, love is a funny thing in that way, but I think that she has really gone straight forward. She's put all her eggs in her basket and she is ready for him to maybe if he didn't say I love you, but maybe if he was showing a little bit more that made her feel like more secure. So he feels like he's trying because he's going to therapy and she feels like you won't talk to me about, heavy stuff. You're not ready for a kid right away. And, you feel like you feel like you're so much further behind in how you feel about the relationship than I am. He's not where she's at, right? So, I mean, but did you see him at the bachelor party? Does that look like somebody that's going to be able to tell them that they love you in like 4 weeks? But, anyway, she didn't really see that footage yet. So I just think like, I don't know, he can't get there as fast as you have. I do agree with her or I can understand her frustration with her wanting him to be a little bit more forthcoming and he's too closed off. I totally get that. And that has to do with some emotional maturity and, having to work on yourself and things like that. But still, you can't really say that a person should be ready to tell you that they love you at 3 weeks. And if you don't tell me by decision day, well, I don't remember how long how many months the experiment is, but I mean, some people can't say I love you until like 6 months in, it's different for different people. So I do feel like, he got upset with her because he's like, at the end of the little counseling session, he's like, you know what? I told you that, I need more time and, you keep pushing me and, you said you wanted some emotion. So there you go. So now he's acting like he's got one foot out of the door. Now she's feeling frustrated, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said anything, or maybe I should have just waited a little bit longer, should have given him some more time. But I think really she just pushed it too much. She just did. I mean, how are you going to tell? Can you imagine? All right, you all think about your last relationship, your last serious relationship. Can you imagine telling the person like, hey, if you don't tell me you love me in another week, right? Come on, that's too much. So this is the time to build and to be showing, right? Not necessarily telling. So I know some of the other couples have said I love you so far, and I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I really do. I mean, I know, but how many times have we been in relationships and you look back and you think, oh my God, I told that person I thought I was in love. And you realize you weren't in love. I mean, because, when you break up with that real one, then you're like, oh, okay, that was love, right? So Stasha, she's doing too much. I'm sorry, that she's just doing way too damn much at this point. So I feel like he has really been, kind of on his P's and Q's because he feels like, you know what, this woman has a house, she's got money. Like he feels like with her, he could have the life. Because remember from the very beginning, he said he wants the power couple. He's on the Instagram. Doesn't he have a YouTube channel or something like that? He wants to, to really be successful. And it sounds like he said he grew up lower middle class, like it's kind of struggling and stuff like that. His dad, military salary, maybe he's not making that much. So he wants to progress in life and he sees her as like, okay, I can make this work. I can make that work. But at least on this part, you're going to have to give me some time to catch up with you. So I just think she's being too much. I really do. I understand. I feel for Stasha. Stasha has a very straightforward kind of personality. And I think it would be hard for, maybe some guys to get with her. But I think, probably the reason that she hasn't found, her match yet is probably because I think she's very particular. I think if she had been looking at different, I don't know, maybe different socioeconomic groups, maybe different, ethnic groups. I think maybe if she would have been like a little bit more open to dating different kind of guys, Stasha would have been snatched up like that. Come on, think about it. She's gorgeous and she's successful. And I know a lot of women, especially back in New York, that were gorgeous and successful. And, sometimes they, downright, they could be very, they could be kind of a bit much, a little bit abrasive. And you would think to yourself, God, how does she get somebody? But listen, not only is she got somebody, she stays with somebody. But you see the guy, maybe he's not that good looking, but he's successful, he's got this, he's got that. They're not saying, oh, he's got to be good looking. See, Stasha, she really strikes me as somebody that needs the looks, right? She's got to be like physically attractive. And I understand I could not marry somebody ugly. I just couldn't do it. Now, hats off, shout out to those that can, because girl, they are probably getting the bag. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't marry somebody ugly. So I think she's one of those people. So people probably say like, oh, and I think she feels like, oh, I scare men away. I know a lot of men, especially in New York, honey. It's Stasha, this don't work out. All you got to do is go to Manhattan. There are plenty of men honey, we could take you down on Wall Street. We could take you down to some places where men listen, they're not scared of your salary, but they ain't going to be looking how you want them to look. They ain't going to look like Nate. I mean, I don't think Nate is like all that, but I don't think Nate's bad looking. He's just, I mean, he looked like he had some acne when he was younger, something like that. But I mean, other than that, his skin is very even and he's tall. I mean, now that hair, listen, that's a tragedy. I don't know what's going on with that hair. I'm sure she's tried to talk him out of it, but who knows? All right, so let's see.